Welcome to Relation Tales. Please like this video and subscribe Relation Tales. We're grateful for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's begin. The night my marriage finally cracked open didn't begin with a text message. It began with a feeling, one of those sharp, instinctive alarms you can't explain but can't ignore. I was standing in our kitchen, reheating leftover pasta after a long day at the auto shop, when I noticed it again, the silence. Not the peaceful kind, but the kind that grows in homes where love once lived and now avoids eye contact. The kind that makes the air colder, even when the heat is on. For months, Lily moved around our house like someone only visiting, smiling less, talking less, hiding her phone more. Every time it buzzed, she angled the screen away like she was shielding a secret instead of a conversation. I had asked once gently, "Everything okay between us?" She kissed my cheek quickly and said, "Just tired, Danny. Work is draining." But her tone wasn't tired. It was distant. And distance never comes without a reason. That night, I found her perfume, my favorite one she wore, sprayed on a jacket she rarely used. A jacket she hadn't worn to work in years. I lifted it, inhaled it, and felt my stomach coil tight. Something was off. Something was happening. Something she didn't want me to see. I tried distracting myself, cleaning the kitchen, wiping the counters, scrolling through cooking videos I had no intention of making. But my mind kept circling the same thought. She isn't where she says she is anymore. Then the doorbell rang. A sharp, unexpected sound that jolted me straight. I wasn't expecting anyone. It was almost 8 p.m. I opened the door to find a woman I'd never met. Early 30s, tense posture, clutching her phone like it was the last solid thing in her life. She had this expression, the kind people wear when they've practiced what they're about to say, but still aren't ready to say it. "Are you Daniel Brooks?" she asked softly, her voice held together by a thread. "Yes, can I help you?" She looked over my shoulder into the house, then swallowed hard. "I'm Madeline Carter," she said. "My husband works with your wife." Her voice cracked on the last word. Not broke, cracked, like she was trying not to cry in front of a stranger. "That's okay," I said, stepping aside so she didn't feel exposed. "Come in. Sit. What's going on?" She walked in like her legs weren't fully cooperating. She held her phone out toward me with a trembling hand. She said she was carpooling home with Lily tonight. My breath caught. She told me she left late because of work. But I checked her home security app. Kyle never even went to the office today. My pulse slammed hard enough that I felt it in my throat. She pulled up a photo. Car interior. Dim evening light. A woman's silhouette. My wife's brown hair. And a man driving. My hands tightened along the edges of the counter. Knuckles pale, jaw locked. Yet my voice came out calm. "Sit down," I whispered. "I need you to tell me everything." She sank into a dining chair, as though gravity was stronger under her. I poured her water because it felt like the only sane thing to do while my mind tore itself apart from the inside. Madeline wiped her eyes. I think they've been seeing each other for months. And I didn't know who to turn to, but you deserve to know. Months. Not days. Not a mistake. A choice. I felt something unfamiliar wash over me. Not anger. Not heartbreak. Clarity. If Lily and Kyle were together right now, it meant one thing. They trusted their lies more than they feared the damage of the truth. And that made revenge the most natural thing I'd ever considered. I took a slow breath, my heart steadying instead of racing. "Madeline," I said, pulling out a chair and sitting across from her, "you did the right thing coming here. And trust me, we're going to handle this in a way they'll never expect." Her eyes lifted, confusion flickering with hope. "What are you planning?" I glanced at the clock. It was almost time, but I didn't give her the answer yet. I just stood up and said, "When she gets home, you're going to sit right here beside me." Her brows furrowed. "Why?" I looked toward the front door and exhaled the last bit of hesitation I had been holding. Because if they've been playing us for fools, then tonight, Madeline, we stopped playing. Madeline sat at my dining table like she was trying to fold herself into the chair, shoulders tight, knees pressed together, fingers tracing the rim of the glass I gave her. Every few seconds, she glanced at the front door as though terrified her husband might walk in instead of my wife. Meanwhile, I paced. Not because I was angry. Anger is loud. What I felt was quiet, controlled, focused. The kind of emotion that forms when pain sharpens into something with purpose. I checked the clock again. 8:27 p.m. If Lily was actually on the way home, she'd be here soon. You're calmer than I expected, Madeline said softly, watching me. Most husbands would be yelling or throwing things. I managed a small breath. Yelling won't change what they've already done. But strategy can. She blinked, like the word itself pulled her back upright. Strategy. I sat across from her, leaning forward. Tell me everything. What did you first feel something was wrong? Madeline pressed her lips together. A few months ago, he started going to the gym late, working after hours, leaving his phone face down. I thought it was me being insecure. She exhaled shakily. But insecurities don't come with timestamps. She handed me a few of the printed photos she brought. I expected something dramatic. Instead, they were chilling in their normalness. A picture of Kyle's truck parked outside a coffee shop on a weekday morning, when he was supposed to be at the office. A blurry shot of Lily sitting in his passenger seat, reaching toward him. Another of them laughing in a drive-thru. Too close, too comfortable. They weren't holding hands. They weren't kissing. But emotional betrayal doesn't need physical proof. It just needs patterns. When did you confront him? I asked. Last week. Her voice cracked. He said I was imagining things. He even made me feel guilty for snooping. I wanted to believe him. Tears filled her eyes. I shouldn't have. I shook my head gently. Don't blame yourself. Cheaters study innocence more than loyalty. She swallowed hard. What about you? Did you ever suspect? I hesitated. I had tried convincing myself everything was fine. That marriages hit phases. That routines made things feel stale. But deep down I knew. She pulled away from me months ago. Kept choosing friend hangouts and late meetings over coming home for dinner. I looked down at my hands. But every time I asked if she still loved me, she'd smile like she didn't even understand the question. Madeline wiped her eyes again. I'm sorry. I nodded. I'm sorry too. But that's why we're not going to scream or plead when she walks in. We're going to show her the truth in a way she can't talk her way out of. She straightened, a spark of determination replacing the grief. Okay, what exactly do you want me to do? Nothing dramatic. Just sit here with me. Calm, composed, like someone who came to talk. I lifted the photo she brought and placed it gently on the table. I'll handle the confrontation. And if she denies it, Madeline whispered. I leaned back, the corner of my mouth tightening in a controlled exhale. She can deny words, not pictures. Before she could respond, headlights flashed through the window, 2 brief streaks across the living room wall. Madeline stiffened instantly. She's here, I murmured. I motioned for her to stay seated and walked toward the counter, grabbing my phone. I didn't need it for evidence. I needed it for timing. The front door unlocked, and I stepped back beside the table. Lily entered with a breezy voice. Danny, I'm home. Traffic was. Her sentence broke in half. Completely. Instantly. She saw Madeline. Her eyes widened. Her keys slipped from her fingers and clattered onto the hardwood floor. Her mouth parted as if words were supposed to come out, but nothing did. She looked from Madeline to me, to the photos on the table. Silence. Not the uncomfortable kind. The truth is finally here kind. I kept my voice level. Calm. Controlled. You're home earlier than usual. Lily swallowed hard. Why is she here? Madeline didn't speak. She didn't have to. She remained exactly as I asked. Still calm, hurting but composed. I stepped forward a little. She came to talk. Something about your coworker. Her husband. Remember him? Her gaze darted toward the photos like she physically couldn't stop herself. I don't know what this is, she said quickly. This looks like some kind of misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. I repeated. Then you won't mind helping us understand it. Her breath hitched, just slightly but enough. She pointed at one of the images. That's not what you think. Then what is it? I asked softly. When she didn't respond, I added, be specific. Her hands trembled. She stepped forward, then backward, then forward again, like her body couldn't decide whether to flee or fight. This is ridiculous, she finally said. Madeline, why would you come here? If you have a problem with Kyle, then go to him. Why involve my husband? Madeline's voice, when it finally came, was steady. Because your husband deserves the truth. The truth you've been hiding. Lily froze. Her eyes filled with something I hadn't seen in months, fear. I stepped closer, meeting her eyes. Where were you tonight, Lily? I told you, she whispered. Running late. Running late with who? She didn't answer. She didn't blink. She didn't breathe. And in that moment, I knew. She realized lying wasn't going to save her anymore. I pulled a chair out slowly, the sound scraping through the tense silence. Sit, I said quietly. We're not finished. She hesitated. Then, unsure what else to do, she lowered herself into the chair. What she didn't know, what she couldn't possibly predict, was that this wasn't the confrontation. This was only the setup for the revenge she never saw coming. Lily sat down slowly, her fingers gripping the edge of the chair like it was the only thing stopping her from falling apart. The dining room light cast a faint glow over her face, and for the first time in months, she wasn't hiding behind her phone, her excuses, or her rehearsed smiles. She was exposed and terrified. Madeline stayed quiet beside me, shoulders tense, but chin lifted, the way someone holds themselves when they've already cried enough and have nothing left except resolve. I took a seat across from Lily, folding my hands calmly on the table. Let's start with something simple, I said softly. What was the name of the coworker you were supposedly with tonight? Her pulse was visible at the base of her neck, fast, uneven. She swallowed. I said a coworker, but I didn't think you needed details. I do, now more than ever. I leaned forward slightly. Say the name. The air tightened. She hesitated too long, far too long, and hesitation is always louder than confession. Finally she whispered, Kyle. Madeline closed her eyes, pain flickering across her expression like a lightning strike, brief but impossible to miss. Lily saw it, and the guilt hit her, sharp and sudden. Madeline, I didn't know. Don't, Madeline interrupted without raising her voice. Don't pretend you didn't know who he was married to. She stared down at her hands, ashamed. I lifted one of the photos. Is this you in his truck last Thursday? Her eyes glassed over. Danny, please. I'm asking a yes or no question. Silence. Then a slow, reluctant nod. I waited for her to speak, but she didn't. She couldn't. She was collapsing inward, piece by piece. But I wasn't going to let her hide in shame. Shame is still an escape. I wanted her to face clarity. Lily, I said, my tone calm. How long has this been going on? She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again, then shook her head. I don't know. It wasn't supposed to be anything. We talked at work, then after work, and I felt understood again. Madeline stiffened. I inhaled slowly. Understood. I repeated quietly. You stopped talking to me. You shut me out. So you went to someone who made you feel something you didn't want to fix here. Lily wiped a tear that slid down her cheek. Danny, I didn't mean to hurt you. You did, I said simply. But that's not the entire truth. You didn't mean to get caught. Her breath trembled. She looked at me with pleading eyes, but I didn't feel the pull I used to. Something inside me had already detached. I want to fix this, she whispered. Madeline let out a soft, disbelieving laugh. Not mocking, heartbroken. I leaned back on my chair. If you wanted to fix this, you would have talked to me months ago. Instead, you created a world where I only existed when it was convenient. I know, she cried. I'm sorry. Her apology landed flat. Not because she didn't mean it, but because consequences had finally arrived, and she was only now realizing the weight of them. I folded the photos and placed them back on the table gently. You didn't come home late tonight because of traffic. You were with him. Her eyes lowered. I made a mistake. No, I corrected. A mistake is a moment. This was a series of choices. Repeated ones. Madeline exhaled sharply, nodding. They think we're fools. I lifted my gaze to Lily. You know what's worse than the betrayal? She looked up, tears streaming. What? The fact that you let me wonder what was wrong with me instead of telling me you were drifting away. I felt my voice tighten. You let me question myself for months while you found comfort somewhere else. Her face crumpled. Good. Not out of cruelty, but because truth should change a person. She reached across the table, fingers trembling. I still love you. I pulled my hand back gently, not harshly. Love isn't what you feel. It's what you choose. And you didn't choose me. Her shoulders shook as she tried to breathe. Madeline suddenly spoke, voice steady. You should know. Kyle told me he felt guilty lying to you. He said you always spoke highly of your husband. Lily froze. She didn't deny it. And that silence told me everything. She had used my name in her emotional affair while I stayed loyal. That was the detail that hurt the most. I stood slowly, pushing my chair back. This conversation wasn't about begging, or blaming, or repairing something already broken. Lily looked up, confused. Then what was it about? Closure, I said, and setting the stage for what comes next. Madeline glanced at me, unsure but trusting. What comes next? Lily whispered, voice cracking. I walked to the counter where my phone sat, and picked it up. You're going to pack a bag tonight. Her eyes widened in panic. Danny, no. You're going to stay at your sister's for a few days. I need space. Real space. Not the fake space you created when you were sneaking around. She stood up, so fast her chair scraped the floor. Please. We can go to counseling. We can talk. We are talking, I said calmly. And this is the first conversation in months where you're actually telling the truth. She sobbed. I'll do anything. Just don't push me away. I shook my head. I'm not pushing you away. I'm showing you the distance you created. Madeline stood now too, steadying herself. She wasn't here to attack Lily. She was here because she needed someone who understood her pain. And she found it in me. Lily reached for me again. Where will you go? I'm staying right here, I said evenly. This is my home. Then why do I have to leave? I looked her in the eyes, really looked. Because before we even decide what comes next, you need to understand what it feels like when someone you love doesn't come home. Her face broke. She covered her mouth, shaking. And that's when she finally understood. This wasn't rage. This was justice. And it was only the beginning. Lily didn't move at first. She stood there like someone who'd just survived a storm, only to realize the world afterwards wasn't the same. Her makeup had smudged from crying. Her hands shook. Her breath came in uneven breaks. But none of that softened me. Not tonight. Not after months of silence, distance, and betrayal disguised as confusion. I pointed toward the hallway. Go pack a bag. I'll give you 10 minutes. She flinched as if the words themselves hurt. Danny, please don't do this. You already did, I said quietly. Just pack. For a moment, she just stood there, staring at me, as if hoping I would cave, pull her into my arms, or give her one last chance to talk her way out. But I didn't move. And eventually, with her shoulders crumbling inward, she turned and walked to our bedroom. Madeline stayed silent beside me, clutching the photos loosely now, like their weight had finally shifted from unbearable to simply painful. You okay? I asked gently. She exhaled. I didn't think you'd handle it like this. Like what? With dignity. Her eyes softened. Most people would have exploded. I shook my head. Explosions make noise, not change. She nodded slowly, almost studying me. Your calmness is unsettling, but in a way that makes sense. Before I could respond, Lily returned, holding a duffel bag that looked hastily stuffed, zipper barely closing. Her eyes were swollen, her nose red, her voice trembling. I don't want to go, she whispered. I stepped closer, keeping my tone level. This isn't permanent. It's space. Space you created when you chose someone else emotionally and chose to hide it. She wiped her face. I didn't choose him over you. Yes, you did, I said. Every time you reached for your phone instead of my hand. Every night you came home a little emptier. Every time you told me nothing was wrong when everything was. Her mouth opened, then closed, the truth finally settling like a weight she couldn't push away anymore. You still love me, she begged. I know you do. I do, I admitted. But love isn't enough when trust is gone. That broke her. Completely. She stepped forward like she couldn't stop herself. I can rebuild trust, she whispered. Just don't let this be the end. I shook my head. I'm not deciding the end tonight. I'm deciding boundaries. She looked between me and Madeline, maybe realizing for the first time that this wasn't just a confrontation. This was an awakening. Where am I supposed to go? She asked through tears. To your sister's, I replied. It's better than the alternative. And what's the alternative? I tilted my head slightly, seeing you pack because of a divorce attorney instead of your husband. She went still, completely frozen, because she finally understood that the quiet tone I used wasn't threat. It was certainty. I wasn't bluffing. I wasn't angry. I was done being lied to. She nodded weakly, then stepped toward the door. Before she opened it, she turned. Are you going to see someone else? She whispered. My jaw tightened, not from guilt, but from the irony. You didn't ask that for months, I replied. Funny you care now. She shut her eyes in shame, then walked out. The door closed with a soft click, a sound that felt like both an ending and a beginning. Madeline let out a long, shaking exhale. That was intense. I finally sat down, exhaustion hitting like a wave. Yeah. She hesitated, then placed the photos in front of me. You should keep these. I pushed them back gently. No, you take them. They're part of your healing, not mine. Her eyes softened. Healing? I haven't even thought about that yet. You will, I said. We both will. She gave me a small, grateful smile, one that didn't hold romantic intention, just understanding. Two people who'd been blindsided by the same betrayal, sitting in the same room, finally breathing again. As she gathered her things and headed for the door, she paused. Danny, what now? I looked toward the empty hallway where Lily had just disappeared minutes earlier. Now, I said quietly, now I rebuild a life where someone's presence doesn't make me feel replaced. Madeline nodded, tears forming. But this time, they weren't from heartbreak. They were from clarity. You're stronger than you think, she whispered. And with that, she left. The house felt different. Not broken, not heavy, just honest. And sometimes, honesty, no matter how painful, is the first step toward getting your life back.